Welcome to the Getting Through Today podcast. I'm Brita. Come along with me as I share my story of the ups and downs through chronic illness and depression, all while being a mother of 5. I know healing is possible, and through every phase there is beauty, even if we don't always see it at the time. I know what it feels like to just get through one day at a time. Let's get started. Welcome back, beautiful warriors, to another episode of Getting Through Today. Today, I want to talk about something that has truly been a game changer in my healing journey: connection. If you've ever felt isolated in your chronic illness, I see you. I've been there. But I also know that the right people, the ones who truly see you, support you, and hold space for you, can make all the difference in your healing. Whether it's a single person who checks in on you, an online community that understands your struggles, or a group that makes you feel less alone, connection is a powerful form of medicine. Before we dive in, take a second to think about someone who has shown up for you in a time of need. Who is the first person that comes to mind? If you can, send them a quick text right now. Just a simple "thank you for being there for me" can mean the world. Our bodies were never designed to heal in isolation. Think about that for a moment. We are wired for connection, for community, for support. Yet when we struggle with illness or chronic pain, the first instinct is often to retreat. We tell ourselves we need to be strong, we don't want to be a burden, we don't want people to see us at our worst, tired, weak, struggling. So we withdraw. I did that so much. I would shut people out, not because I didn't love them or need them, but because a lot of the time I was trying to hide just how sick I was. I didn't want anyone to see me like that. I didn't want to be treated differently or pitied. And I definitely didn't want to be seen as weak or incapable. I felt like I wasn't fun to be around. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, and so far from the person I used to be. And when I did force myself to be around people, I would put on a mask, pretending I was fine. But I was not fine. I was in survival mode, and isolation only made it worse. But here's the thing. Science tells us that connection is not just a luxury. It's a fundamental part of healing. It's not just about emotional comfort. It's about biology. Studies show that meaningful relationships actually help regulate our nervous system, lower stress hormones, and even reduce inflammation in the body. When we feel seen, safe, and supported, our body produces oxytocin, the love hormone, which can calm anxiety, can promote healing, and also help us feel more resilient. On the flip side, isolation and loneliness have been shown to increase pain perception, raise inflammation, and even worsen conditions like autoimmune diseases, Lyme disease, and fibromyalgia. In other words, withdrawing when we need support the most can actually make our symptoms worse. I felt that. I did that. But it was hard to explain because a lot of the times I really didn't want to be around people. So why do we do it? Why do we push people away when connection is what we need the most? Because when we're struggling, it's easy to believe the lie that we have to do it alone. But healing, true, deep healing, happens in relationships. Whether it's family, friends, a support group, or even an online community, being surrounded by people who remind us that we are not alone It really can change everything. So if you're isolating yourself right now, I get it. I've been there. But I also know the power of reaching out even when it feels hard. Because connection is not just about comfort. It's about survival. It's about healing. And it's about remembering that you were never meant to carry this alone. Have you ever noticed how a hug from the right person can instantly make you feel calmer? That's not just in your head. It's actually a biological response. Studies have consistently shown that people with strong social ties experience lower levels of stress, reduced inflammation, and even a longer lifespan. All from a hug? That is fascinating to me. And when we're stressed, our bodies release cortisol, a hormone that in high amounts increases inflammation and suppresses the immune system. But when we feel safe and supported, our body shifts gears. We produce oxytocin, often called the love hormone, which counteracts stress, lowers blood pressure, and promotes healing. In fact, research has found that social connection can boost immune function, making it easier for our bodies to fight illness. It can also improve sleep, which is crucial for recovery and overall well-being. Oxytocin does more than just make us feel warm and fuzzy inside. It actually has measurable effects on our health. So when we experience things like emotional safety, whether through a meaningful conversation, a loving relationship, or even community support, those oxytocin levels rise. Loneliness isn't just a feeling. It can be a biological stressor. Studies show that prolonged isolation triggers the same fight or flight response as physical danger. Our bodies perceive loneliness as a threat, leading to increased inflammation, higher stress hormones, and even greater sensitivity to pain. People who have strong support systems recover faster from illness and surgeries, experience lower levels of chronic pain, have a better quality of life even when dealing with long-term health conditions. Now, I know you're probably wondering, I have a great support system, and I still don't feel great. And you may be going through things that are really hard right now. As you have this support team, they can help you get through it. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to take it away, but it really does make a difference in mental and physical illness when we do have people to connect with. So you might be asking, what can we do to cultivate these healing connections? Even if you don't have a big support system right now, there are ways to foster community and meaningful relationships that support your healing. Now, connection doesn't always have to come from a large circle of people. It can start even with one genuine supportive relationship. I don't have a huge team of people that support me, but the ones that do help me a lot. So what I would recommend is prioritize meaningful relationships. It's not about having a huge group of friends. It's having the right ones. Even one deep, authentic friendship can make all the difference. Seek out people who make you feel safe, seen, and valued. A true friend is not someone who needs you to pretend you're okay. They're someone who can sit with you in your struggles and remind you that you're not alone. You could join some support groups. There are so many online and in-person communities for people navigating chronic illness, mental health challenges, and even personal growth. Sometimes talking to people who truly understand your journey can be incredibly healing. Whether it's a Facebook group, a local meetup, or a guided support circle, these spaces can offer encouragement, validation, and a sense of belonging. Practice vulnerability. This one is hard, but so important. Let the people who love you know how you're really feeling. So often we assume people won't understand or that we'll be a burden, but the truth is, real connection happens when we allow ourselves to be seen. Not just the polished, I'm fine version, but the real, unfiltered truth of where we are. You don't have to carry this alone. Engage in small moments of connection. Not every connection has to be deep and intense. Sometimes healing comes in the little moments. Could be a simple text to check in on a friend, a kind message, a hug, or even making eye contact and smiling at someone can increase oxytocin levels and make both you and the other person feel a little lighter. These micro moments of connection remind us that we are a part of something bigger. One of the most important things that you can do is love yourself. One of the most powerful connections you will ever have is the one you cultivate with yourself. When you're struggling with illness, pain, or emotional wounds, it's easy to be hard on yourself. I always was hardest on myself. You might feel like you're not doing enough or not strong enough, not worthy enough. But the truth is, you are enough exactly as you are, no matter what you're going through right now. Loving yourself means practicing self-care in ways that truly nourish you, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It means giving yourself grace when you're having a tough day. It means speaking to yourself with kindness, just as you would a dear friend. And most of all, it means remembering that you are deserving of love, support, and healing both from others and from yourself. Connection isn't just something that feels good. It's something that helps us heal from the inside out. We do heal best in the presence of others, but I understand there's also a lot of times where you do need to be alone, and that's okay. I do like my alone time, but I also like connecting with others. So whether it's through family, friends, a support group, or even just a shared moment with a stranger, remember that connection is medicine. If you're struggling with chronic illness or emotional pain, don't let shame or fear keep you isolated. Your healing is not just about treatments or therapies. It's also about love, support, and the power of being seen. You don't have to do this alone. You were never meant to. None of us are. I remember so many low points in my chronic illness journey, feeling exhausted, in pain, and feeling completely alone. Like no one truly understood what I was going through. Even though I had a great support system, even though my loved ones were always there for me, I just didn't always feel understood. I did my best not to worry them by complaining too much, but inside I was struggling a lot. But I was never truly alone. My family, my husband, my friends, they were there even when I felt unreachable. Of course, my husband, Jeff, has always been an incredible source of strength for me. There were so many nights when he would come home from work to find me in tears, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. I would tell him how hard it was, how much I wanted to feel normal again, and he would hold me, telling me it was going to be okay. He never made me feel guilty for all the physical and mental battles I was fighting. Instead, he reminded me that he could still see the strong girl he married, even when I couldn't. I've talked to him a lot about what it was like for him during those years, and he told me he tried not to take anything personally. He understood that what I was going through wasn't me, it was the illness. And so he showed up. He took me to doctor appointments, helped with the kids, took on extra chores around the house, and became my rock in ways I could never have imagined. And somehow, in the midst of it all, we still found ways to laugh. We held on to the small, beautiful moments when we could. My parents, my sister, and my brother were always there to listen, to love me through the ups and the downs. There were so many tear-filled phone calls, so many moments when I needed to vent, to cry, to just be heard. They never made me feel like I was too much. They just loved me. Thinking about them now makes me emotional because their presence in my life, their steady support, is something I will always cherish. And of course, my children, I tried hard to put on a strong face for them. I didn't want them to worry about me, but they were always such a strength to me. I got up a lot of days just for my children, and I love them more than I could ever explain. And now as they're older, we have these beautiful friendships, and I just love them so much. And then there was my aunt. She didn't just show up, she kept showing up. She took my small kids on outings when I couldn't, cleaned my house, brought meals, and made life a little bit easier in ways that meant everything. When she would come over, she would always ask, "What's bothering you the most today?" And whatever it was, whether it was the dishes in the sink or the laundry piling up, she would tackle it. We would chat while she cleaned, and even though I felt bad just sitting there while she worked, she always made me feel so loved. I have a handful of friends from college who have been with me through it all, through every tear-filled conversation when I felt like I just couldn't do this anymore. They were patient, they listened, and they loved me every step of the way. No matter where they were living, we stayed connected through phone calls, visits, and messages filled with encouragement. They never let me forget who I was. Even when I felt like I was disappearing into my illness, they reminded me that my light was still there, that I wasn't lost. Through my church, I made new friends, amazing women who helped with my kids, brought me meals, and loved me unconditionally. They just kept showing up. I've never been good at asking for help. In fact, I hate asking for help. But they didn't wait for me to ask. They simply did. And I needed that. Some of my in-laws were there for me too, checking in, watching my kids, supporting me in ways I'll always be grateful for. But along this journey, I also lost friends. Some friendships faded when I spent more and more time in bed, unable to go out and do the things we used to do together. At the time, I was frustrated. I wondered why they didn't just come visit me at home more or why they didn't reach out more. But now looking back, I have peace about it. I understand that life moves forward for everyone, and I don't hold on to any resentment for those people. I know I wasn't fun, and that's okay. They didn't owe me their presence, and I truly hope they found their people, their own sources of joy and connection. And I think it's important to remember that some friendships are meant for just a season, and I'm grateful for the times we did have. Through it all, I learned something profound. I wasn't as isolated as I thought. Even in the darkest moments, I had people who loved me, who saw me, who held space for me, who showed up for me time and time again. Now, my pain didn't magically disappear because of their support, but it did change how I coped. It gave me the strength to keep going. It gave me people to lean on. It made me feel like I wasn't a burden, that I did deserve love, even when I had nothing to give in return. And that's the beauty of connection. It reminds us that we were never meant to do this alone. I think one of the hardest parts of struggling with chronic illness, mental health challenges, or any difficult life experience is feeling alone in it. You might have people in your life, but they may not always understand what you're going through. Or maybe, like me, you've lost friends along the way, and rebuilding connection could feel overwhelming. But here's the truth. You are not alone. Your people are out there. Finding the right support system doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't have to mean having a huge group of people around you. It's about quality over identity. Having even one person who truly sees and supports you can be life-changing. So, where do you start? Well, there's a lot of online communities. The internet has made it easier than ever to find people who understand exactly what you're going through. There are thousands of online spaces dedicated to chronic illness, mental health, and healing. So I would encourage you to go find these groups. Find some that are very positive. Yes, that you can vent and you can be real about what you're going through, but ultimately that they have a positive outlook. They have hope, that you can lift each other even in the darkest times. There's so many virtual meetups and different support groups that you can really engage in conversation and form deeper connections. And if socializing online feels intimidating, just start small. Just join one small group or even just observe discussions and engage when you feel comfortable. Even reading other people's experiences or listening to them can remind you that you're not alone. When I was really sick, I had joined some support groups that weren't very supportive. When I would suggest things that helped me, I would get really negative comments about what I had tried that they didn't believe it worked or different things. It kind of shut me down and I stopped sharing. So just find those communities where you can be yourself and share with each other and people are open and understanding and loving. While online communities are great, in-person connection has its own special kind of healing. Being physically present with others who understand can actually be deeply comforting. There's so many different hospitals and wellness centers, community centers, spiritual groups, local events and workshops that could really support you on your journey. Even something as simple as a yoga class or even a book club can be a good place to start. And even I attended my first online book club group recently, and it was so much fun. So there's a lot of ways to connect with people, even if you're not able to get out of bed or leave your home. And if stepping into some sort of new group feels overwhelming, bring a trusted friend or a family member with you first time, or you plan a group that has your friends and family in it to do this. And this book club that I just started, my friend invited me to it. So there's so many ways we can connect with each other. While new connections are important, sometimes the strongest support comes from the people already in our lives. But here's the thing. Our loved ones aren't mind readers. If we don't communicate what we need, they might not know how to help. And sometimes even when we communicate what we need, they don't always know how to help. So I know this can be tricky, but if you do communicate with them, you do have a better chance to be supported in the ways that are helpful for you. So as you communicate, make sure you're being honest, where you could say something like, I know I don't always talk about it, but I could really use someone to listen right now. And most people, if they hear that, they can sit and listen. You could even be specific using a phrase like, it would help me so much if you could check on me once in a while. Or I'd love it if you could just come sit with me even if we don't talk. Or let them know what doesn't help. And that means sometimes saying things like, I appreciate your advice, but what I need most is just someone to listen. Because many of our loved ones want to help, but they just don't always know how. When you give them a little guidance, it really can strengthen those relationships and also prevent misunderstandings. I feel like some of the loved ones in my life want to help fix or make things better. And sometimes they just have to understand that that's not their role. You know, we're doing everything we can do to find the modalities and the things to help us heal. A lot of times, at least for me, I just needed someone to listen to me, to hear me, to validate what I'm going through. Now remember, not everyone in our lives will be supportive, and that's okay. Some people may dismiss our struggles, make us feel guilty, or drain our energy rather than lift us up. It's okay to let go of friendships that make you feel worse instead of better. It's okay to set boundaries with family members who don't understand or respect your needs. It's okay to protect your peace. This happened to me a lot. There were people in my life that were well-meaning, but they did not understand what I was going through and how hard it was for me. And there were some people, no matter how I tried to explain what I was going through and what I said to them, they just didn't get it and they were not supportive. So just remember, you are allowed to choose those relationships that nourish you, not deplete you. And when you surround yourself with people who truly see and love you, the healing process does become lighter. Be aware of those relationships and really be careful about how you're setting boundaries and who you're letting into your life when you're already dealing with a lot of hard things. And finding the right people isn't always easy, but I promise your people are out there. Whether it's through online communities, those local support groups, or even just one trusted friend, connection can change everything. So start small. Send a message, join a group, or open up to someone safe in your life. Healing is not just about medicine or therapy. It's about having people who remind you that you do not have to do this alone. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a small but powerful challenge. Something that might feel simple, but can make a profound impact on your healing journey. Your challenge. This week, I want you to reach out to one person and share something real. It can be a friend, a family member, or even someone you met on an online community. You don't have to overshare or go too deep. Just take a moment to truly connect. Maybe it's sending a message to check in on a friend, expressing gratitude to someone who has supported you, or even letting someone know that you could use a listening ear. If you're struggling right now, I encourage you to be brave enough to let someone in. Even if it's just saying, hey, I could really use someone to talk to today. Sometimes that first step can lead to the kind of support you didn't even realize you needed. And if you feel like you don't have anyone to reach out to, I want you to know that you are not alone. If you don't feel like you have a safe person to talk to, this community is here for you. I am here for you. I get it. I see you. And I want you to know that there are people who care. If this challenge feels overwhelming, just start small. Join a supportive online group and engage with the post, or simply allow yourself to be open to connection in a new way. Healing doesn't happen in isolation, and you don't have to carry everything on your own. And share your experience. If you complete this challenge, I'd love to hear about it. Send me a message or comment on my latest post about how connection has helped you. Your story might inspire someone else to take that same step toward healing. Remember, connection is not just about finding people. It's allowing yourself to be seen. And you deserve to be seen, loved, and supported. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you're surrounded by people who lift you up or feeling completely alone, please don't give up on finding your people. Healing is not meant to be a solo journey. We are wired for connection, and even though it can feel difficult or vulnerable to reach out, it's one of the most healing things you can do for yourself. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, comment on my latest social media post, or share your thoughts on this episode. How has connection played a role in your healing journey? And if you're still searching for the right people, know that this podcast, this space, is a place where you are seen, valued, and never judged. Until next time, remember this: you are loved, you are worthy, you are never alone in this journey. I'm sending you all my love, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon.